With Valentine's Day around the corner, this post on X went viral. Somebody took a picture from the greeting card section of some store somewhere. And let's put the picture up on the screen here. So you see it there. You can see, well, actually, you can see quite a few objectionable things going on in this picture that went viral on X. And at the bottom, you have Valentine's cards from the pets. So people are buying themselves love notes from their pets. I mean, if I worked the cash register at this place and somebody came up with a card from their cat or whatever, I would refuse it. I would not sell it. I would refuse them service for their own.
How dare they have a sense of humor? How dare they make a joke about their pet on Valentine's Day? How dare they? Fun Police Matt Walsh here is going to give you a ticket if he sees you buying one of these cards.
I would say I cannot let you do this. I can't, like, this is an intervention because you have hit rock bottom and somebody needs to say something to you. Once you become the kind of person who buys Valentine's cards for or from your pets, there's no going back. And so you've crossed.
It's called a joke, dude. Lighten up.
The Rubicon. I can't allow it. I can't allow it. My conscience will not allow it. That's what I would say. But the thing that's caught most people's attention is are the cards at the top there, where you have cards for your work wife or your work husband. And this is a thing now, apparently. Apparently people are buying Valentine's cards for their work spouses. And I knew that this concept of work wife and work husband existed. You know, this is a term we hear these days.
It's called humor, dude. It's called humor.
Know that some stores have sections for them for Valentine's Day. And listen, this obviously shouldn't need to be said, which really could just be the title of this show, I guess. This shouldn't need to be said could be the title of the show. That's pretty much everything I say on the show is stuff that shouldn't need to be said. But regardless, if your wife has a work husband, okay, she's cheating on you. And likewise, if your husband has a work wife, he's cheating on you. That's called adultery.
No, they're not. No, it's called a joke. People can be very liberal with their senses of humor, and you know what? You're just gonna have to suck it up and deal with it, because people can still make jokes when they're married. And first of all, these cards don't say that they have to be for people who are already married. So you might have a work wife or a work husband, or you might refer to yourself as having one, even if you're not already married. But even if you are, that's not adultery. That's called a joke, a workplace joke. Like, hey, you're my female friend or male friend who I'm very close with at work, and I'm gonna jokingly call you my work wife or work husband. You might not find it funny, but it does not mean that there is adultery going on.
It is at the very, like, by definition, it's adultery. It is at the very least an emotional affair on its way.
Nope.
To becoming a physical affair, or it already is a physical affair. It probably already is one. And, you know, the problem is not just that your spouse is calling someone else besides you a spouse. Even if it's supposed to be in a half-joking way, it's still wildly inappropriate, outrageously, ridiculously inappropriate.
No, it's not, dude. Holy cow. You've got problems. Okay. Once people get into relationships, they are still allowed to make jokes like this. They can have senses of humor. Let me give you an example. When I was in high school, I did theater, okay? So I was playing the guy who ends up with the main girl at the end of the show. And this girl happened to have a boyfriend. She would jokingly refer to me as her dream man, because on stage, I was her dream guy. She thought I was very attractive. She was attracted to me in the show, and we end up together. Guess what? That didn't harm her relationship with her boyfriend, because they were adults. They were both actually 17 at the time, and I was 15. But they were able to make jokes, and that was that. It didn't harm their relationship because they weren't insecure like you. You are showing your own insecurity here. What are you hiding about your relationship that is so flawed? Why are you projecting so much negativity onto other people who buy these cards relationships? What is wrong with you? Do you have something wrong with you? You've got something wrong with your relationship. I can tell that.
Appropriate, but the problem is not just the name. It's that, you know, if you have a work spouse, quote unquote, it means that you've established an intimate friendship with a member of the opposite sex, which is just never okay as a married person.
It is perfectly fine. When you get married, you should not be restricting your ability to be friends with other people. It should restrict your ability to have sexual intercourse with other people, to make out with other people, to date other people. Because, yeah, I would agree with Matt Walsh that monogamy is a pretty important thing. But it should not restrict your freedom to make jokes, even if they're a little edgy, even if they're a little risque. You know what? Like, humor is one of those things that it's like, it's timeless. It doesn't change. You shouldn't limit your sense of humor based on whether or not you're married. No. Stop trying to boss other people around.
A married person should not have any intimate friendships with members of the opposite sex. Now, does that mean a married person can't have any friends, period, who are the opposite sex? That doesn't really mean that. You know, there are appropriate ways for, say, a married man to be friends with a woman. And the best option is that this is someone who you and your wife are both friends with, and the woman is married, and so you and your spouse are friends with this other couple. Get it?
I would generally agree that that's best, as in that provides the most damage mitigation and mitigates, you should be transparent with your partner about who your friends are. So you should not have friends of the opposite sex behind their back. But I mean, if you do, that doesn't inherently mean you're engaging in adultery either, So yeah, I do agree with Matt Walsh as to what the optimal situation is, where it's like you both know of this person being your friend, but it doesn't mean that other ways of going about it are inherently wrong.
There's a scenario where you might be, quote unquote, friends with a member of the opposite sex as a married person, and it's fine. For a married couple to have friends that are other married couples, that's fine. That's healthy. That's a good thing. You should have those kinds of friends. But outside of that, if you have a friend of the opposite sex as a married person, and this is not a mutual friend who is part of a couple that you and your spouse are friends with, if this is just your friend, then by friend, we should be talking about someone who you work with and are friendly with and maybe get along with, but it shouldn't be more than that. Like, that's all that the word friend should really mean in that case. You certainly shouldn't be going out to lunches one-on-one with this person, or texting all the time, or hanging out one-on-one, or just building any intimacy at all.
You can hang out one-on-one with whoever you want. You got to have some security. I think the ultimate form of confidence and security in your relationship is actually understanding that your partner can hang out with people one-on-one at other times, and that's fine, and they're not cheating on you. That shows that that no matter what, you've got them, nobody else does. That type of confidence seems like the type of thing that you're very adverse to, Matt. I wonder why. I wonder if it's because you're insecure about your own relationship.
You should not be doing. It should be a friend in the broadest sense. And intimacy is really the point here. Like, that's the point. Intimacy doesn't always mean, if you talk about being intimate with someone, we use that euphemistically to mean sexual activity, but it doesn't have to mean that. Intimacy just means most literally closeness. If you are, if someone is an intimate friend, it means that it's a close friend. This is a close bond. A close bond is intimacy. And as a married person, you should simply not have any close bonds with anyone of the opposite sex unless they're an immediate family member.
Whoa, okay there, Mr. Tradcon. No, you can have close friendships with whomever you want, family member, whatever, dude. It's only a problem if you let it become a problem, if you start hooking up with them, if you start dating them. Do you not have self-control? Are you able to control yourself? Are you able to meet with someone of the opposite sex one-on-one with whom you're not in a relationship or anything like that and control yourself, not flirt with them? It's not that difficult, actually. You better have some self-discipline.
There should be no intimacy being built or established, formed with a member of the opposite sex. And if there is, like, that can only lead to bad places. There's no win there. Like, what's the win? If you're a married woman and you have a job and you're building an intimate, close relationship with a guy that you work with and he's not your husband, what's the win? Like, how does that make your life better in the end? Like, where's this going? What's the 5-year plan here? What do you think this looks like?
Human beings are social creatures. Human beings like to make friends with each other. This is a timeless truth that applies regardless of whether or not you are married to someone else.
Like 5 years from now, it can only, the best you can hope for is that it won't damage your marriage as much as it could. Like, now it's just damage mitigation. The best you can hope for is that this intimate relationship you're building with someone who's not your spouse won't completely destroy your marriage, but it certainly won't help it, and there's a good chance it will totally destroy it. So, as I said, these are just things that should need to be said, but these days they do. I mean, I'll never forget the controversy around Mike Pence, way back in ancient times, back in 2016 or whatever, when he infamously said that he doesn't go on lunch dates with women who aren't his wife, and this was treated as some sort of shocking statement. Meanwhile, to any normal person, you're like, well, yeah, of course not. What do you...
It's really ridiculous and rigid. Like, he's admitting that if he goes and gets dinner or something one-on-one with a woman, then he views it as romantic and he needs his wife to restrain him. And that's some really weak stuff that shows he's very insecure in his own relationship.
Of course you're not. What, am I going to go on a lunch date with a woman who's not my wife? That's bizarre. I would never do that. But to a lot of people, they saw it as strange, which is one of the reasons why, a lot of people just have a very hard time forming and maintaining romantic relationships and marriages. And like, this is why. Hey, you.
Okay, so yeah, he's wrong about a lot of stuff there. He's very obsessed with controlling other people. Don't be controlled this Valentine's Day. Be friends with whoever you want to be friends with. Have close relationships with whoever you want to have close relationships with. The person who is in control of those things and how much they can damage your relationship is you. You can be close friends with whomever you want. Don't let it damage your relationship. Be faithful to one another. But you know what? Hang out with who you want to hang out with. It probably is a good idea to let your partner know if you're friends with someone of the opposite sex, in the interest of transparency, because I think there is a strong interest in transparency in relationships. But you know what? Ignore Matt Walsh. Have fun. Make jokes. Whatever. I can't believe he melted down for a whole 5 minutes, 7 minutes over Valentine's Day cards. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. This has been The More the Merrier, and I look forward to speaking to you in my next video.